All right, welcome. I want to talk about the playoff format. The current playoff format is essentially you have a division winner. The division winners of a conference play each other for the conference final. Winner advances to the Stanley Cup. Whereas I don't know what year they transitioned, but at about 10 years ago, maybe sooner, maybe later, but I think it was about 10 years ago, we had the 1 through 8 playoff format. So the entire Eastern Conference would be seeded 1 through 8. Um, there's always a lot of discussion about this going into the playoffs, and I kind of just want to talk about it a bit. So I'm just using the Eastern Conference as an example. I haven't thought about it. I haven't done any analysis on this. I haven't looked at what could happen just yet. But I know in prior years, we talk about the first round matchups being almost identical between the 1 through 8 format and the current divisional format. It's typically round 2 where things get a little jumbled and you're getting kind of weird matchups in that second round. The part of the reason the league transitioned to this current divisional matchup is to put more emphasis on division games. You play teams in your division more than you play teams in your sister division in the same conference, right? It also creates more rivalries, if you will. But growing up a Bruins fan, Bruins in Philadelphia had a bit of a rivalry. And maybe it's very one-sided from the Boston side, but I was at that game where Patrice Bergeron got hit by Randy Jones and was knocked unconscious. I was sitting right behind him. I think I was like, I don't know, maybe like fourth row, fifth row in the balcony or something. It was my first time sitting over there, and all you could see on the ice was just his legs, and he wasn't moving. Right? So there's kind of a rivalry there, and you don't see that anymore. So does it help rivalries? Does it not? I'd probably say not really. As a Bruins fan, right? Maybe it's helped with the Lightning rivalry, but who knows if that would have already existed, considering they had a bit of a dynasty there. Still, you can make that argument. The Toronto Maple Leafs, as a Bruins fan, I don't really view the Leafs necessarily as a rival. It's more Montreal is the rival. The Maple Leafs, like Leafs fans can view Boston as their rival, which makes sense. The Bruins have knocked the Leafs out of playoff contention in some heart-wrenching fashions, or in the playoffs, not playoff contention, in the first round of the playoffs last few years. But the games aren't intense. They're not like rivalry games. They don't feel like a rivalry game, whereas you see the Bruins, which had a great season, play a team like Montreal, which finished in 15 out of 16 teams in the East, last in the Atlantic. Those games are still fun. There's still a little heat, a little fire. You see Jeremy Swayman and Nick Suzuki going at it. That's unique, and you don't see that in most games unless it's Jordan Binnington in net, right? So the whole rivalry thing, I don't think it necessarily helps. I don't think it hurts. I think it's pretty consistent for the most part. But I like to see more teams. I'd like to see the Bruins and the Rangers play a little more. Original 6 games are fun, right? The Rangers, historic franchise, New York, Boston, right? And they're in different divisions, but the same conference. So, getting back on the topic, it's not always this straightforward, but the current through 1 through 8 matchups are identical. They're the same this year. There's usually maybe like a team or two that's kind of swapped between the two, right? So you have like the 2 seed playing like the 8 seed, or maybe the 3 seed playing the 8 seed, or something like that. Or I don't know, maybe not that. I don't think you can have the 3 seed playing the 8 seed, right? But you could have like the 2 seed playing like the 4 seed in the division, for example. We've seen that in the past, but for this year, all the cards fell right. It works out perfectly. The first round matchups would be the same. Home ice advantage would be the same regardless of the format. It's the second round that really gets interesting. This isn't my previews or anything, but I'm just going to pick 4 random teams to move on to round 2. I'm not doing too much analysis, right? I'm just going to go through this real quick, and this doesn't reflect my opinions or what I will pick, because I'll do a video for my bracket essentially for the playoffs. Lightning, Panthers. I'm going to pick the Panthers. I think they're difficult to beat. I can't pick the Leafs winning in the playoffs because they're the Leafs and they lose in the playoffs every time, and they haven't beat Boston in the regular season. I think there's more analysis to come on that. I think that's going to be an interesting series, but that's for another video. I mean, there's gonna be upsets that people don't like or expect. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna pick the Capitals and Islanders. Islanders, I think, can be very sneaky in the playoffs. They've been hot lately under Patrick Waugh. And the Capitals have been playing some exceptional hockey and playoff style hockey. I've watched them the last 4 games this year because I've really neglected to watch them this year. I really don't care to listen to their broadcast, but you know what? Sometimes you got to suck it up, and that's what I did. Right? But I do think the Capitals are not going to be an easy out in the first round. I know the Rangers are a fantastic team. They're definitely the favorite, but I think the Capitals are going to give them a bit of a hard time. They can be sneaky good, right? So I don't know. Just for the purposes of this video, I'm going to do that. We got to put the same over here. What we got? These two and these two. Okay. I'm going to write down. I can't write on the board. It's the cheapest easel I could find. This is a low budget channel, right? I don't make money off of this, so there's no money to put back into this. And that's okay. I like that. Okay. What are we looking at here? We'll do the divisions first. We got Bruins at Panthers. That's the 3 and 4 seed matching up. And then we got the Islanders. Oh, nope. We got the Capitals at the Islanders. Caps at Isles. I'm sorry, this is probably really boring, so I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit. And then we have the 8 seed versus the 3 seed. So Caps at Panthers. That's 3, and Caps are 8. And then we have Islanders at Bruins. So Bruins are 4, Islanders are 7. Okay. So this is where we get a little interesting, right? In the current format, Bruins Panthers win, they play each other. You got the 3rd and the 4th seed going against each other. In the other division, should you have 2 upsets, which happens, right? It's not the most insane thing to happen in playoff hockey history, right? You'd have the Caps and Isles play each other as the last 2 seeds, the 7 and 8 seed to make the playoffs. Whereas the 1 through 8 format, you would get the Capitals playing at the Florida Panthers, and you get the New York Islanders playing at the Bruins. So we see stuff like this a lot, almost every year in the second round in both conferences. This might be a little more pronounced because I picked 2 underdogs, I guess, and they I didn't even look, and they happen to be the 2 bottom seeds in the East. So this might be a little more pronounced than what could actually happen, but there are definitely times you'll see weird seedings that just wouldn't match up to the 1 through 8 format. We've seen it the past couple of years. But I feel like once you see the first round, you're like, oh, this makes sense. These matchups are fine. It's really the second round that matters a lot, right? Your division titles, if you will, before your conference title. And then you only have 2 teams in each, so the third round should pretty much be the same. But if you're getting the Bruins or the Panthers, one of those teams are losing, right? So you're gonna get like, we'll say the Panthers win. You're gonna get the Panthers against, we'll say, the Islanders. In your championship game, whereas the 1 through 8 format, you could have Panthers against Bruins, and that could be a very likely matchup. Bruins match very well with the Islanders. Panthers match very well with the Capitals. Actually, that would be those are cases I would pick the Bruins and the Panthers both to win those series, and then that would be your Eastern Conference Championship. Winner goes to the Stanley Cup, and I think that would be a little more fitting, especially considering that's a game you want to have as your Eastern Conference Championship. There are other games you obviously want to have. I'd love to see the Rangers and the Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Championship as well. Literally the 2 top seeds in the Eastern Conference, I'd love to see go at it, which are the Rangers and Hurricanes. But you can't see that with this format, right? It's not going to happen. Most likely, maybe not most likely, but it's a possibility that the Rangers and Hurricanes win. They're both kind of considered heavy-ish favorites. I think they're a little too heavy of a favorite for me. but you get the Rangers and Hurricanes in that second round rather than an Eastern Conference championship. So it looks like their playoff success was a little more null and void than if it was the 1-8 format, and you're really having the two best teams play each other in the Eastern Conference Finals, then perhaps round 2. So again, I'm just going to reiterate this. Round 1, almost identical most of the time. Not all the time. Sometimes you see teams switching divisions, and it gets a little hairy with the seedings. But for the most part, 1-8 in the divisional series matches up with the 1-8 in the 1-8 format. Again, I know I'm beating a dead horse at this point. It's rounds 2 and 3 that really make a difference, that can bring out a lot of fun. There's a lot of reasons why the NHL is currently in this format. We haven't heard any rumors about the NHL going back to a 1-8 format. A lot of internet speculation, but nothing based on any substantial talks or rumors that I've been able to find. It's all been circumstantial and people asking to go back to the 1-8 format, not hearing anything from NHL officials or owners or any of that. So this is what I loved. I absolutely loved this when it was in existence. The divisional playoffs, I think, were good for the first few years, and it's just starting to get really old really fast, especially because so I'm a Bruins fan. The Atlantic Division, you have the same 4 teams in the playoffs almost every year, right? Bruins played the Panthers last year, great. Panthers played the Leafs last year, great. The Leafs have played all 3 teams, I think, in the last 2 years, 3 years. I don't remember the last time the Leafs and Bruins played, but they've played a lot in the past few years anyway. You're not getting new matchups. You're not getting exciting matchups. Your rivalries aren't necessarily growing like they used to because hitting is down, because physicality is down. It's more of a skill-based game. You're not getting these big hits anymore. Whereas, like, you might with the Bruins and Maple Leafs, for example. Not Maple Leafs, the Canadiens. So Bruins Canadiens, there's going to be some hatred in there. As a Bruins fan, I don't feel that with the Leafs games. I almost feel bad for them for losing so many times in the first round, but it's also the Toronto Maple Leafs, so I don't feel bad. Sorry, Leafs fans. No, I'm not. So that's it. That's all I got. Let me know what you like better. I hear a lot of people talking about the playoff formats and how they compare, but nobody really ever gets past the first round, and that's the most similar, and it's not even close. You really have to talk about rounds 2 and 3 and how those matchups really could be different to get a better understanding as to why people like this 1-8 playoff format better. I'd love to see a team. I'm a Bruins fan. I was rooting for Philly to get into the playoffs, maybe as the 8th seed, and the Bruins to go on a run to end the season, have a Bruins-Flyers matchup in the first round, right? And that would be almost incredibly rare because it's not common for a team of the other division to slot into the last wild card and play out of division. But in a 1-8 format, it could totally happen, right? So you get, it doesn't even matter. It could happen. There's so many ways it could happen in a 1-8 format, and in the current format, it's really not going to happen. It's not common. So I'm starting to ramble. That's all I got. I appreciate you guys. I just wanted to talk about this. I just got home from work. It's been kind of a long day. But here I am. Love hockey. And we got tonight and tomorrow night. And then the season is done. And then playoffs start. So there'll be videos to come. I'll do my I'll compare the final standings to my preseason predictions, which are always fun. I did pretty well this year. Obviously, there were some teams that everybody got wrong. And there were some teams I was a little high on that I probably shouldn't have been. So that'll be coming. And then we got the playoff brackets coming before that first round starts. Maybe Saturday. Either Saturday or Sunday, but I think they might start on Saturday. I haven't looked up the dates just yet. But, yeah, appreciate you guys. All right, take care, all right?